Hey guys, Katie here with For the Love of Leftovers. Today we are going to be tackling tariffs and rising grocery prices and planning for your prepper pantry, stockpiling, things like that. But we're going to do it in a new way. We are talking about how to build these systems and these items up in your home from the ground up. And so, as you might see, I am here at a garden supply store near me, local to me. And so we're gonna walk through here and I'm gonna show you how I would start a garden from scratch and start building a prepper pantry from the ground up. When looking at building your stockpile and building up a pantry for longevity, thinking about the garden, start thinking about things like raspberries, blueberries, trees that you can start planting and have in your home, on your homestead, for years to come. You're going to be able to plant these and maybe not necessarily harvest this year or even in the next year, but these are going to set you up for success for the long haul. So I did just notice on this raspberry shortcake raspberry plant, this is actually a very child-friendly raspberry plant. This is a thornless raspberry plant. So invest in items like these if you plan to have your kids around or young children out in your garden picking berries. It's going to be a little more kind to those little hands that are going to be learning how to help you harvest. When looking at plants like blueberries, consider getting two varieties. Here I have a high bush Northland blueberry plant, and then I'm also going to get a jelly belly blueberry plant. And having two varieties is actually going to be better pollination wise and result in a higher yield. Of course, the items like bushes and trees are going to be your bigger investments, but these are the ones that are going to give you that longevity. They're going to come back year after year after year. You're not going to have to keep planting them by seeds, and you can propagate them. You can split them and grow more year after year. So consider that when considering how to start your longevity garden or your prepper pantry garden. Grabbing just a couple at a time can help you do this on a budget and so that you're not overwhelmed, so that you actually carry through with the pruning and the caring for all of these items. Remember to get what your family eats. I mean, you would think that this goes without saying, but it doesn't. Don't stock up on things like cucumbers. If your family doesn't eat cucumbers, or if they don't eat pickles, if they don't eat tomatoes, don't get a tomato bush. While we are talking about longevity, though, think of items that you can use for a long time. So this container will make cucumbers, but let's think about how we're going to store them long term. Cucumbers are only going to last you through the summer, but you turn these cucumbers into pickles and you can stock up your pantry with pickles, with relish, and other cucumber pickle-based items. Don't skip out on things like lettuce either. Again, yes, we're talking about food for long-term storage, but also long-term growing seasons. So things like lettuce and kale are cold tender crops, or cold favorable. So you can grow these at both ends of the season or grow them in the shade during the summer, and you'll have lettuce and kale and those colder crops all year long. Here we've got loads and loads of varieties of peppers. Plant a variety of items so that you can use them differently. We've got cayenne peppers, which you can dry and then make your own cayenne pepper powder if you would like to. We've got loads of bell peppers that you could then cut and freeze once harvested. And keep in mind, you'll also need multiple peppers to get a better output. You need to have at least 3, can be of different varieties or the same varieties, and they need to be holding hands like you see them here. They should be planted so that they're holding hands, and that's going to allow for better cross-pollination and a higher fruit yield. Brussels sprouts are one of the primary things that I tend to go to the supermarket for. So that's going to be one of the things that I'm going to want to try and grow in bulk. These are going to be a must-have for my prepper pantry. These are San Marzano tomatoes, and it's not quite time to put tomatoes out yet where I am, but these are going to be a must-have because these are paste tomatoes. So these will be great for making your own tomato paste, your own tomato sauce, anything like that for, again, canning and longevity of your prepper pantry. Don't skip out on the herbs. And another general tip when you're looking at all of these beautiful items in the greenhouse, look for what is doing well. Look for what items are robust and go for that variety, go for that particular plant. So for example, I've got one here, I'm looking at lavender, and these two here seem to be doing the best. So I'm going to grab this one. Look for items like herbs that you would typically spend $3 at the grocery store for a package, and instead grow them yourself, spend $5 even on this container, and have dill and other herbs all year long for a fraction of the cost. As you're building your prepper pantry, don't skip out on things like herbs and flowers because many of them have medicinal uses as well. So not only are you growing them and building your pantry culinary wise, but you can also be growing your medicinal closet as well. Invest in long storage items like squashes, butternut squash, buttercup, and delicata. All of these squashes are nice and hardy. This is going to be another long grower. It's going to take all season, but the yield and the output is high per plant. Plus they store well in common conditions like a basement or a cellar or just a cool spot in the garage. These can last all winter when stored properly, just as a whole fruit. Something else to consider is that not all soil is created equal, and not all plants are going to want the same soil type. If you find that a certain plant or vegetable or fruit or whatever grows best in your yard and you can make them grow in abundance, then do that. Use that as an opportunity to then barter and exchange with other farmers, other homesteaders, other gardeners in your area. Exchange your abundance for their abundance. Don't knock it. Don't knock yourself just because you can't get a certain item to grow. Find someone in your area that can and offer to exchange what you both have an abundance of and build both of your pantries while using the soil that you have and doing what you can best. Some plants just need some really heavily amended soil, and not everyone can provide what each plant needs. Whether it's the pH of the soil or the nutrients that are in the soil, don't knock yourself and don't count yourself as a bad gardener just because you can't get a certain crop to grow in your yard. Make sure that you're doing soil tests annually to see what your soil needs. But again, grow well what will grow in your yard and learn how to use it to your advantage and grow an abundance of it. You're not necessarily a bad gardener. Your plants just might not like your soil. In a perfect world, never needing to rely on the store for essentials again would be amazing. Being able to grow all your family needs during the growing season and being able to preserve it all during harvest time is the dream. But it's not reality for most of us. It takes a balance of time and money to make those dreams come to life, and it's not something the average person can achieve in the first even 5 years of gardening or homesteading. When working to build a prepper pantry from the ground up, start with your family's staple crops or the ones that you go to the grocery store most often for. If your family is a big steak and potatoes family like mine is, plant a whole bed of potatoes. If your family goes through apples, again, like mine does, plant apple trees this year, and then connect with a local apple orchard to negotiate buying in bulk or find out if they offer gleaning opportunities at the end of the season. I have a whole video on how we gleaned last year a bunch of squash and apples and other things from one of our local orchards. The purpose of building a prepper pantry is not to squirrel away for end times. It's to be prepared for whatever life throws at you. A job change, medical emergency, tariffs, rising prices, giving you one less thing that you have to worry about when the crap hits the fan. There are times of abundance and there's times of scarcity. If we use our skills in prep during times of abundance, then the scarcity times won't be so bad. Remember, you're building a living pantry, not hoarding groceries. It grows, replenishes, supports your health, and will change based on the calendar season as well as the season of life that you're in. Plant what you can handle. We all get really excited as new gardeners thinking, I'm going to have so much time, I'm going to take care of this huge plot of land, and then typically we end up planting way more than what we can handle. The weeds take over and it just gets way too overwhelming, and things either don't grow, don't produce, don't yield as well as they should, or you might be like me and see it and take one look, get super overwhelmed, and just kind of turn and walk the other way. Start with what you can handle. If that means you're starting with a green stalk or starting with just one raised bed, if you can grow what you can in those and grow them well, it's going to serve you far better than having a huge plot of land and investing a ton of money and time only to get a couple baskets worth of produce at the end. When choosing the right crops for you and your family, focus on things that give a big return on a small space, store well, and can be used in a variety of ways. So, for example, high yield and long storage crops would be things like potatoes, sweet potatoes, winter squash, dry beans, corn, garlic, onions, cabbage. Those all tend to have a bit longer of a growing season needed, but they tend to produce more and can store longer as well. Then you have items that can be year-round producers, either in the shade if you live in a hot, sunny area, or these can actually be grown inside pretty easily as well. Things like kale, chard, spinach, lettuce, those items can be grown in smaller plots or even on your windowsill. Likewise, to berry bushes and apple trees, consider perennial crops that keep coming back and will give you more and more every year. Things like Jerusalem artichokes, rhubarb, and asparagus. They're really hardy and low maintenance. And we touched on this before, but don't forget about medicinals. Don't forget about building your medicine cabinet at the same time as your living pantry. Grow items like calendula, chamomile, echinacea, mint, and lemon balm. Though, word to the wise, plant those in a pot because they will take over your yard. Yarrow and lavender are also some amazing herbs that you can grow, and that will help you in a variety of ways. Before you even start with building your living pantry, consider the end goal. Consider the preservation, because you need to know how you're going to store these items. Don't grow a ton of cucumbers if your family maybe likes cucumbers, but they're not going to get through all of the fresh ones, and then they don't like pickles at all. That would be kind of a waste of your time. You would want to grow things more like potatoes if your family really likes potatoes, and those can be stored long term just in like a root cellar. But there are other methods of preservation as well. You can dehydrate, can, ferment, and freeze. Along with how you're going to store these, think about what you're going to need to be able to do it. Do you need a dehydrator? Do you need a freeze dryer? Do you need Mylar bags, vacuum sealers, mason jars, oxygen absorbers? All of these kind of additional items that you're going to need, and are you going to be able to work those in your budget, or are you going to be able to barter for them, or maybe go onto Facebook Marketplace and see if you can get some real cheap from someone else? Grow what you eat often and learn to cook with what you preserve. When picking your crops, also consider companion planting and succession planting. Companion planting can reduce pests and increase yield, such as doing basil with tomatoes. Basil will help to ward off the particular bugs that go after tomatoes, and it will prevent weeds from growing up. You'll have basil growing up in between your tomatoes instead. And then succession planting, like lettuce and radishes and beans and spinach, you can harvest these things, and as soon as you harvest them, plant more and you will get more coming up. And you can kind of do this all growing season long. And especially with these succession plants, they tend to be cold favorable crops. So even if you did some at the beginning of your growing season and at the end of your growing season, you're going to end up with a lot more because you've taken advantage of the cooler temperatures and the swings at the beginning and end of each growing season. Lastly, don't underestimate the importance of planting for joy. During times of sorrow or times of lack, we look for moments of joy and pleasure, and it's much easier walking through the valley when passing fields of green and pinks along the way. If you would like to have this video condensed in a PDF printable to help you work through building your living pantry, you can get that using the first link in the description box below. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button for more videos like this, grocery hauls, and meal planning ideas. Let me know in the comments what tips and tricks you have for building a prepper pantry.